Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for Unleashed Live with Staci Ann. Hello, I'm Staci Ann, and today I have a very special guest with me. I have Ann Harris, and she's going to be talking to you all about how you can use Twitter to grow your business. So Ann Harris is a social media marketing and optimization manager and bona fide debutante behind Southern Social Marketing. I feel like I should have my Southern accent on when I say this. She works specifically with power women entrepreneurs who need an online presence that matches their offline hustle, helping them recover from social media burnout. So welcome, Ann. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here talking with you.
Awesome. This is wonderful. So we are going to be talking all about Twitter. So before I jump into the more technical questions, can you just share with us how you actually got interested in Twitter and how it became your go-to social media platform?
Absolutely. So I started off making the custom Facebook tabs where you could force people to land on a certain tab in Facebook. And those were the good days of Facebook, and it was great, and everyone could make their fan page a landing page. And then as Facebook started seeing more and more diminishing returns, I started playing with all the other social networks. And it was about, I want to say about 6 months ago, as I was, poking around in Google Analytics, and I realized that Twitter was sending a lot of traffic, and it was sending more traffic than Facebook per post. So then I started ramping up how much I was posting on Twitter, and so it's just grown from there. And a majority of my traffic that comes to my website now isn't from guest posting, it's not from my newsletter, it's actually from people who find me on Twitter.
Wow, that's so interesting because it's the complete opposite. Because actually, most of my business comes from Facebook. So I'm very well versed in Facebook and how Facebook works. I started out on Twitter, actually. So in Seattle, when I was first getting online and all of that, I started out building my presence on Twitter because I was meeting all of these people. I actually knew the people I was tweeting with, which is the reverse of what most people have. Most people know people on Facebook, and then on Twitter it's like all these random strangers. So I actually knew the people on my Twitter page, and I was connecting with them, and I was like, hey, I'm at this event, who else is here? And there'd be somebody that would pop up right next to me and be like, hey, I saw your tweet and I'm here, so it's time to say hello. But then when I moved out of Seattle and stopped interacting with that crowd, my Twitter just went. So I'm so excited to learn how I can reinvigorate my Twitter presence and get back to where it was, because it was driving a lot of traffic for me as well, but lately it hasn't, so I'm excited to learn more. So can you tell us what type of ideal client is on Twitter? So who's on Twitter, and what types of businesses their ideal clients are on Twitter, and because it's not for everybody. So who's really the ideal market?
Well, the ideal market for Twitter, and again, the demographics are changing. So it really comes down to the personality of your ideal client. If your ideal client is a bit extroverted, or if they think in those sound bites, they're definitely going to be on Twitter. A lot more what I'm seeing is that people use Facebook for business or for even more professional things, not like LinkedIn, but Twitter's more personal. If someone is in a department store, or if someone is in your brick and mortar shop, or if someone just attended one of your webinars, they're much more likely to tweet about it, either a good experience or a bad experience, than they are on Facebook. And I'm noticing a lot more people actually using Twitter. I mean, people use hashtags on Twitter. That's where hashtag came from. They're really not using the awesome hashtag you came up with for your conference on Facebook. So on Twitter, it's really if you want to connect with people much more personally than on Facebook. And Facebook is a great tool. It works for a whole lot of people. But if you really want to make that personal connection, I definitely recommend getting on Twitter. Now, if your ideal client is a bunch of teenagers, maybe not Twitter, maybe Snapchat or Vine or something like that. But I'm seeing a lot more young professionals, especially if you're targeting entrepreneurs and coaches and consultants, anyone in a lifestyle business. A lot of them are on Twitter, and they may not be using it for their business. They may just be using it personally. But that's such a perfect opportunity. And also, I see a lot of people people are more willing to complain about things on Twitter that maybe they wouldn't put on their personal Facebook page. So if you're waiting in a really long line at the airport, just ask yourself, would you be more likely to get on Twitter and say, OMG, American Airlines die, or would you post on Facebook and say, I hate this long line? There's some things you put on Twitter because the half-life of a tweet is like that, and it'll be down in someone's news feed before you know it, which also makes it a really great place to find people and connect with them right when they need you. It's a little harder to do that on Facebook. It's as if you have unlimited access to people's personal news feeds, and that's really what it is. So on Facebook, you can put things on your wall, and you can talk to people through your wall or in a private group, but on Twitter, you know exactly what's going on in their life. So it's almost a behind-the-scenes or backdoor approach, which is part of why I like it so much. So yes, to answer your question, lots of young entrepreneurs and consultants and coaches and lifestyle businesses, and definitely bloggers.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think it's so funny that you say young people aren't on Twitter, because the very first time I heard about Twitter, I was, oh gosh, it was years ago, and I was working at the salon, and this group of like tweens came in, and they were like, doing this, and they were texting. And I was like, what are you doing? What's the latest social media, happening? And they're like, oh, it's called Twitter, and you tweet out 140 characters or however much, and you can talk to celebrities, and it's awesome. And I remember thinking, why in the world would I want to be on Twitter and talk to celebrities? That sounds ridiculous. And so, like, I wasn't on Twitter for at least a year later. And so now it's so interesting that it's no longer the young person's game. It's now moved to Snapchat. But I also love that you talked about, and I want to talk about this a little bit more later, about how you can find people in the moment. So my husband and I just took a road trip, and we got caught in a snowstorm in Arkansas, and which doesn't even make sense, snowstorm in Arkansas, and we were in the lobby of this hotel, and my husband's tweeting about being stuck in this hotel, and this kid is also tweeting, this same age as us, is tweeting about being stuck in a lobby of a hotel in Arkansas, and they're talking to each other, and I went out and like started talking to this random guy, and he's like, oh yeah, somebody just told me about this app, and I said, oh, is it Hotels Tonight? And he was like, yeah. And I said, I think that's my husband, and I think he's like sitting right over there. And it was, and we like all had this like really random Twitter connection, just serendipitously like all stuck in the same hotel during the same stinking snowstorm. So you're right, people are like right in the moment, and you can find them so much easier with hashtags. So that brings me to this next question: is should we be live tweeting, or should we schedule our tweets, or kind of a combination of both?
Unmute myself. I definitely recommend a hybrid. I think especially for solopreneurs, one-woman shops, or even entrepreneurs who only have 1 or 2 employees, if you have the time to be tweeting 8 times a day, you probably do not have enough clients, and you don't have enough work. So I definitely recommend a hybrid. Part of that is that if you have a hybrid, you have some scheduled things. You have some evergreen content, right? Your newsletter opt-in, if you did it right, is an evergreen piece of content. It's going to be applicable, and by evergreen on Twitter, I mean applicable for the next 2 to 3 months. So if you've got 2 to 3 months of tweets, not all of them, but maybe 2 a day, then you can take a deep breath and relax, because you know that you don't have that constant pressure to say something clever and witty and awesome, or find some new meme, or try, just you can work in your business instead of on it if there's pre-scheduled things. Mm-hmm. At the same time, you've got those pre-scheduled things, and they can include your Follow Friday, retweets of other people, thanking your new followers, those kinds of things. And I definitely recommend adding on top of that, if you've got the time every day, setting up the Twitter search for yourself, or using a tool like Need Tagger, which is free to set up one filter, and find people who are, for me, for a social media manager, I look for people who are complaining about Facebook, about WordPress, about Twitter. I find them, it sends me to-the-minute updates, and I can reach out to those people and say, oh yeah, I totally feel like that, or you should check out this app, it's really great, or I have the perfect thing for you, look at this free webinar I just did. So if you're a cupcake shop, you find people tweeting about, I'm so hungry right now, that are in your location, and you can search Twitter by location and go ahead and reach out to those people and say, oh, well, we have this amazing red velvet cupcake, you should totally get over here. So it's that combination. It's setting aside 10 to 15 minutes to find people to engage with and start conversations, but not putting so much pressure on yourself that you become overwhelmed and you burn out and you delete your profile and throw your hands up in the air and swear off technology. So
Yeah.
scheduling and also some spontaneous interactions.
Perfect. And can you share with us one more time that tool that you were talking about?
Absolutely. It's called Need Tagger, needtagger.com, and it's free for your first filter. And so it's much more advanced than Twitter search. So they've got pre-designed filters that they're looking for. So you can look for people who saying they're wishing for something or wanting something. You can look for people who've recently engaged with your competitors and see if you can insert yourself into that conversation. So it's a really great tool.
I love it, and that's that.
For the first one.
Yeah, I love it. That's more of that proactive kind of marketing instead of just reactive, like waiting for something to fall in your lap. It's like, I'm gonna go find something and meet somebody right where they're at. So I love that. All right, so I was hanging out on your website, and which everyone should go to southernsocialmarketing.com, and I noticed that you talk a lot about Twitter chats. And so I want to talk about Twitter chats too, because one of the very first things I started doing on Twitter back when I was living in Belize was hosting a weekly or monthly maybe Twitter chat called the 20s Chat, and I was able to connect with so many awesome people around the world through this Twitter chat. So I want you to tell us a little bit about what the heck is a Twitter chat, why in the world we would want to do one, and then maybe the first steps to getting started. Because what's really great is you actually help people facilitate a Twitter chat, which it seems like something that you wouldn't need help doing. It's like, oh, it's just a Twitter chat. But I love that you help people because it's actually a little more overwhelming than you'd think. So I want to ask you a little bit more about that service. But first, tell us, what is a Twitter chat? How do we, why would we need one, and how do we go about getting one?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked. When I was in high school, the hot thing to do, if you remember this, when we all still had like AOL and gateway computers, was to get on AIM, AOL Instant Messenger. And to me, a Twitter chat feels a whole lot like that. It takes advantage of the hashtag. So, for instance, for your Twitter chat, and you had the 20s chat, and so people would use that hashtag in all of their tweets. And it's at a specific date and time. It's usually between 30 minutes to an hour. Everyone shows up at the same time. There's usually a moderator who is asking questions, and anyone in the chat is welcome to answer the question and talk to each other. And it's just a giant group free-for-all. So it's a lot of fun. There could be a lot of activity, and it's one of the best ways and one of the easiest ways I've found to connect with people that I either want to work with, who I want to keep in touch with, and it's a really great way to gain followers, If you're answering questions from a prompt, and you just give your honest answer just in your voice from your business Twitter account, you're going to say something insightful or clever or funny. You're going to share a piece of you and a piece of your business that if you were sitting down saying, oh, I'm going to write some tweets today, you may not have thought about that. They would have asked a question that maybe you hadn't considered before. And so that's a really great way for people to find you as well. So yes, it's using the hashtag function. One of the tools that I really like to use is called Twubs, twubs.com. You put in your hashtag, and it automatically sorts everything. It only finds people using that hashtag, so you're not in Twitter constantly refreshing and looking to see what the newest things are. And it looks like a chat box. It looks like a chat room in AIM. So it makes it really, really easy. The other cool thing about Twubs is that if you want to host your own Twitter chat, you can actually customize the entire appearance. You can give it a header. You can name people as moderators. And it allows people to take that and put it on their calendar and schedule it and set a time and date for it and say, I'm going to show up at this time and I know we're going to be talking about this. And so I love them. I love planning Twitter chats for other people. They're a really great way of networking. And again, it's like a giant group AIM chat, but instead of like a kind of creepy free-for-all, it's about a specific topic. So it's going to be on point and that you're going to be talking about something that you're really interested in, that everyone else is really interested in.
Yeah, I love it. So, like I was talking about earlier, I love that you actually help people put these together because they're surprisingly harder than you'd think to actually throw it all together and get people to show up to them. Because you do have to get them, it's live, so people need to kind of be there, at the right time, right? So what's the biggest mistake that you see entrepreneurs making when they go to set up a tweet chat for the first time that working with you would actually, you would help them not make that mistake?
I think the biggest mistake people make is only advertising it on Twitter. Really? If you only tweet about it, you're reaching only the audience you found so far. When the real point is to not only engage the people you've already got, but to spread your wings a little bit, find other people who'll be interested, grow the awareness. So what I see, the biggest mistake I see people do is they may log on to Twubs, they may add it to a Twitter calendar, but they don't tell anybody else. You've got people following you on Pinterest who are also on Twitter, and they would love to be there for that chat because they want to interact with you one-on-one. You've got people on Facebook who would love to interact with you one-on-one in a way that maybe feels awkward or strange just in a giant comment thread. So if you only advertise it on Twitter, you're really not going to get the reach that you could have.
All right.
I can't hear you.
Question time. So should we have multiple profiles or just one profile? I hear this question a lot. So I'm getting on Twitter for the first time. Should I set up a profile for Staci or a profile for Staci Ann, my business, or should I have both or just one? Or talk us through. I know this gets people stuck from moving forward with Twitter because they're asking this question. Facebook makes it easy. Personal page, business page. But Twitter, it's kind of like intermixed. So what do you recommend?
So I have one Twitter account, and it's all me. It's all my personal stuff, and it's my business. Because I am my business. I am the face of Southern social marketing. And for any lifestyle business, coaches and consultants, if people are working directly with you, if you're the personality behind your business, I would recommend having just one. And the complaint that I hear from a lot of people, or the real fear and concern, is none of my friends will love me anymore because they're going to get so annoyed that I'm putting all this marketing stuff on my Twitter. And to that I have two things to say. You shouldn't be only putting marketing stuff and sales pitches on your Twitter. You need to actually be engaging like a real person, and then your friends won't get annoyed. And then two, if they're really friends and they're your family, they love you. They want you to pay your rent. They would like it if you could afford some food. They know you have a business. They're going to be okay with it. If every now and then, after you tweet a picture of your adorable puppy or your baby, you also say, hey, I've got this free webinar coming up. I would love for you to attend. Here's my little bit.ly link. They're not going to be annoyed. Again, the half-life of a tweet is like this big, right? How long do you think it takes for it to completely disappear from the newsfeed? That's why so many people recommend that you tweet so often during the day, because you never know really who's online. So the odds that your BFF is going to get super annoyed with you and unfollow you and then take that offline and cut off that relationship, I think is slim to none. So that's why, if you are your business, I definitely recommend just having one. The people who I think should consider having two Twitter accounts are if you are a side hustler, if you tweet for your bridge job, you want to keep that separate. If you don't want to be tweeting about let's say you work for some lawyers, you don't want to be tweeting about law and then start tweeting about your side job as a stylist and a fashion consultant. That could be confusing. So keeping your bridge job and your side hustle separate, definitely. But also, if you're tweeting for a company, chances are that company is going to have a Twitter account already set up. So obviously, you don't want to take pictures of your super healthy green smoothie, no matter how much kale you put in it. Like, that's not appropriate for your business Twitter. So those are the situations where I would keep them separate. But just for me personally, I would love for Staci Ann personal and Staci Ann Twitter business to be the same thing, because that's part of what makes you so engaging and fabulous, and why I want to be your Insta bestie online, because you have this business and it's wonderful, but you're also a real person who understands what it's like to struggle in business and have down days and have awesome days and have really nice green smoothies, you know? So there's adding that personality in your business is so great.
You'll never see a picture of me drinking a green smoothie. Ever. Not even once. Purple, maybe. Green, not going to happen.
Then I totally want to see your purple smoothie.
Awesome. I love it. I do the same as Anne. I tweet from Life of Staci, which I've had for years and years and years, and it's gone through all the different versions of my business, and it started out personal to business. And I also, you know, when you say people are going to not want to be your friend because you're tweeting about your business, how many of your friends complain about their jobs all the time, yes, and you're still their friend? Like, I log into my Twitter, Instagram, and there's like constantly like, oh, today my job sucked. I still love this person, and, you know, they're still on my Facebook feed. So it's the same thing. Like, it's their life and they share about it, and your business is your life and you share about it. So don't feel like you can't talk about it, you know, that you can't share this awesomeness. And you never know who you're inspiring. You never know which one of those friends is just dying for a change in their life, and you might be the person to put out there that, look, you know what, I got tired of working at the law firm and I decided to do this really awesome thing, and heck yeah, I'm doing something that I want to do, and I'm doing something with my life. So don't shut off your spark and your sparkle just because you're afraid of losing a friend. So I love that you brought that up. Don't do that. You know, be your sparkalicious self and get out there and inspire. So, Anne, another question. How in the world do I find a follower? So I'm on Twitter, and I want people to follow me who are relevant to me. So do I just go out there and, you know, start saying, hey, you should follow me. Hey, here's my hashtag or my Twitter handle, you should follow me. Do you beg people to follow you, or is there a better way to do this?
Yes, you have to beg people. You have to stand on the corner and pass out flyers. No, of course, I'm kidding. No, don't. I wouldn't beg people. You know, I mean, there's a couple different things you can do. There's several things you can do. If you have a newsletter where you have like a cute personal letter from you and then the bulky content, maybe one day you use that letter and you just straight out tell people, I heart you so much, subscribers, and I don't want this relationship to just be a one-week thing. Just when I send out my newsletter, come find me on Twitter and follow me and say hello. You know, so just telling the people who already love you, if you're on Twitter, come find me because I'm there and I'd love to talk to you. Posting it even on your Facebook page, making sure that you have the Twitter buttons on your blog posts. I love, love, love the fact that I'm sure you're familiar with Marie Forleo, and she has the tweetables and click to tweets within the blog posts. So I love that idea. Make it really easy for people who want to share your content to do so. Now there is a technique that you can use where you follow people that you want to be connected with, and sometimes they'll follow you back. And so that can be an easy way to build followers. The one thing I would caution about that is that there are some people out there who will advise you to do that to very spammy levels. Twitter will catch you. If you are following, the number right now is 2,000. If you're following 2,000 people and only 5 of them are following you, you will go to Twitter jail. And that's not a happy place to be. And that follow, unfollow, it's called follow spam. And those are the people, and a lot of them are robots, and they only follow you to see if you'll get a follow back. So don't be that person. The people that I follow are peers, colleagues, friends, industry stars that I want to be friends with and go to their houses and have slumber parties, or people that I think I would like to work with, people who I think are my potential ideal clients. If you feel weird about following people, find what they're tweeting about, retweet them, favorite them. You know, there are ways other than a follow to reach out to someone and say hello. There are ways other than a direct message to tell someone, hey, I'm over here, I'm on Twitter, I think we have a lot in common, you know, and that could even be it. If you want someone to follow you, you don't necessarily have to tweet them and say, you should follow me, because that's weird. Don't do that. But you can totally tweet someone and say, hey, I saw from your bio you're interested in X, Y, and Z. Me too. Can you tell me more about that? And then you'll start that conversation, and then that'll be a mutual, warm, fuzzy, following relationship. So that's another way to get follows. And tweet chats. I get a lot of followers from tweet chats, so I can't not say that.
I love it. I love it. And all right, let's talk hashtag strategy. And then I want to move into like 2 minutes of talking about advanced Twitter strategies for people who are like ready to just put on their big girl pants and go for it and go hard on Twitter. And they're like, all right, I'm going to make money on Twitter. So I want to talk about that too. But first, let's talk hashtags. Should you have your own hashtag? Should you like create your own hashtag, or should you follow hashtags that already exist? How can you best use hashtags to really improve your Twitter presence? So just like a minute soliloquy on hashtags.
Sure. Real quick thing on hashtags. Don't use hashtags that no one is actually going to be searching for is a big one. You've got SEO keywords for your website that you know work, and that's how people find you. If you have a blog post or you're tweeting something about that, use that hashtag. Definitely check out the trending hashtags. See if you can newsjack. There was one about children's stories ruined, or ruined children's books, and it was just really funny. And hopping onto those memes can be a really great way to use hashtags to gain followers and create more awareness. And a lot of hashtags come from Twitter chats, honestly. So if you've got something that you think is applicable to a Twitter chat that may have already happened, but you want to get in front of those people or you want to send a message to them, you can use the hashtag from that Twitter chat even if the chat's already over, because people will see it the next time they log in. And as far as having a personal hashtag, I think I would use them for live events and for like tweet chats or conferences or even a webinar. Having a hashtag just to have one seems a little silly because you have a Twitter handle. So if someone wants to find you, they'll get on your Twitter handle. They're a great way to search for specific content. So that's why I definitely recommend hashtags for any kind of live event, whether that's a webinar or a tweet chat, anything like that. So that was the quickest. Was that quick?
Yeah, that was perfect. All right, let's talk advanced strategy, because now it's down to the money here. And how can I grow my list on Twitter? What can I do to start building my list, finding, and finding potential customers? So how do I build my list on Twitter the best way?
Two things that I absolutely recommend to everyone that I work with is you're allowed to put a website in Twitter. Your name, your bio, you have a website. You can put a link in your bio, and a lot of people don't take advantage of that. You have 160 characters. That's 20 more characters to put a bit.ly link that goes to your opt-in. So your bio should contain keywords and phrases that people would use to find you, such as what you do in your business, but you should also see if you can fit in there, get free resources at, and this link. Sign up for a free something at this link. So putting that in your bio and then using that website space just for your website. So I definitely recommend putting that opt-in in your Twitter bio. The next thing is getting a Twitter lead generating card. Facebook just implemented this. Twitter was way ahead of them, which I love. So you can create a Twitter lead generating card in the Twitter ads. So ads.twitter.com. You're going to need a developer license, but if you're an advanced Twitter person, just email me and we'll figure this out. Basically what it is that whenever someone's in Twitter, they will see a tweet that has that card and it's your opt-in. They click a button that says, sure thing, I want that. and it automatically sends you their email address. You can connect it to Aweber, you can connect it to MailChimp or whatever email service you're using. So people don't have to type in their name and email address. They just say, what's that? Free guide from Staci Ann? Heck yes, sign me up. Click a button. It automatically sends all their information from within their Twitter stream. So that has been really great for building my list. So lead generating cards and putting your opt-in in your bio. Those are the big two.
Awesome, 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 rock star. All right, so while your beautiful face is here for us, I want to encourage everybody to take Ann's 5-day Twitter challenge so you can stop obsessing over vanity metrics like the number of followers you have and unfollowers and all of that nonsense. So you can turn those Twitter lurkers into actual email subscribers like she just talked about. So go to bit.ly/the-Twitter-challenge. So again, that's bit.ly/the-Twitter-challenge. All right. So go and download that. And one thing, so I'm going to pop in here. So one thing that I wanted to share about, so that Twitter and email marketing have in common is we're all afraid of the big bad unsubscribe. And we're all afraid of the big bad unfollow. Within a day, add and subtract 10 to 20 followers every single day. And this used to make me so sad in my life because I'd get on and I'd be like, yes, I have 1,770 followers. Woohoo! And then the next day I'd log in and I'd be like, oh man, I have 1,603. Okay, it probably wasn't that mini loss, but it was like, you know, I'd lose 10 followers and I'd be devastated and I'd be crushed and I'd be like, what did I say? What did I do? What's wrong with me? And same with email. You know, when you have a list of 100 people and you're like, yes, I have 100 people, and then somebody unsubscribes and you're like, I have 99 people, and it's like this deflated feeling. So what I started doing was I actually started tracking my Twitter followers, and anytime somebody unfollowed me, I was like, yes, somebody that isn't for me is no longer in my space. And I got to be so comfortable losing Twitter subscribers that then it kind of translated over into email. So now I'm like, oh, you know, somebody unsubscribed, no big deal, you know, whatever. So if you're afraid of the big bad unfollow, that's okay. But there are things you can do to really overcome that fear, because it's okay. People are going to unfollow you, and it has nothing to do with you. Let's just put that out there right now. It has nothing to do with you. So don't be afraid of the big bad unfollow, all right? But be sure to take the Twitter challenge so you can learn how to actually use Twitter to grow your email list and all that. So again, the link, and go there right now, is bit.ly/the-Twitter-challenge. All right. So, Ann, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing all of your amazing knowledge on Twitter and how to grow your list and get on Twitter and do all of this stuff. And if you want more from Ann, go to southernsocialmarketing.com. So before I let you go, I just want to do 30 seconds of why someone should work with you for their social media Twitter help. What makes you unique, and why should people choose you? Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Well, I'm from the South, so I know how to say go to hell and make it sound like a vacation destination. And so much of social media is really about customer service. And I am very type A, so anything that I can do to save you time and save you money, efficiency and productivity is key. So if you are really struggling with social media burnout and social media overwhelm, you need someone who's been a side hustler, who's had a side job and knows how to make it work and make you look like you're full-time in your business, even if you don't have that time to commit. So that's really what I'm all about at Southern Social Marketing.
I love it. I went to school in North Carolina, so I know that I know how that sounds like. Y'all just, you can, you know, you're looking good today. God bless you. Yeah, bless her heart. Perfect. So thank you so much, and for everyone listening, thank you for joining me for Unleashed Live with Staci Ann. And be sure to download your free list building workbook at oh no wait, that's the wrong one. At training.staciann.com/workbook. It's a crazy long link, so I'm going to say it again. It's training.staciann.com/workbook. I've got to work on that. All right, so thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Staci Ann, and this is Ann Harris, and this is Unleashed Live, and you have a beautiful day.